This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
Well, it's Monday, March 27th at 4:30. This is a meeting of the Southampton Public Safety Building Committee, and we'd like to open up the meeting and know if there's any questions or comments from the public. None being here. I'd like to know if you want to review the meetings from the last meeting of January 30th, I believe is the last meetings that we have.
I didn't review them. Do you have a copy of them?
I have the 30.
Well, I'll make a motion to approve them to get the discussion going.
Yeah, let's do that.
You have a second?
I'll second.
Chief seconds. And first and second, all in favor of approving a meeting?
Do you want to
Oh, that, now these this red type that's in here, are those changes that Cindy made?
Those are changes that I had recommended when they first came out. So just to clarify, let me get to them because I have them right here. It said Rini presented the sites under consideration for the senior center noted to be the same sites under consideration for public safety building. Now what I wrote, I think that, I don't think it was clear or something, so I told her that the fire department site has not been ruled out, but is now considered a lower priority site for the senior center. As to build, they would require the relocation of the fire department, plus the current plans show a 2-story building. So I just wanted to clear about that point. And then further on, and it said, reported that once again an application was received, no applications were received in his office for our RFQ. And Cindy originally said one firm who has done other projects for the town. That's actually not entirely true. This was somebody that graciously spoke up to say that the problem was the money part of it.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to say one representative of an architectural firm. I just thought it was just a little bit more neutral. So those were the recommendations that I had. And I just said it wasn't the firm's opinion, it was the representative of the firm's opinions. Because I don't think this person was speaking on behalf of their firm. So those are, I think, the only things. Oh, wait, there was one other thing.
Yeah.
Oh, and then she said that I had said that this, that I would ask the select board to approve additional funds for the, feasibility study, and I really can't do that until there's a dollar amount. I did mention though, and I'll mention again tomorrow night, that because we're getting down there on the, I think there's $300,000 left in there. I'll ask them to consider encumbering that much money, but I didn't ask them to vote to approve that because I don't think they would. For example, they weren't willing to vote in favor of replacing the tennis courts without having a clear quote, and that's happened more than once. So I knew that that would be an ask that probably wouldn't go. So that was those are the points that I clarified with Cindy.
Correct. And that's the senior center that just...
Yeah, let's see.
So...
Hi, John.
Oh.
So I'm prepared to vote.
Okay.
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 Prepared to vote for the minutes as amended?
All in favor? I think.
All in
I
favor?
said yeah.
Aye.
Was there another set of minutes though, also?
There was, I think they had the joint ad hoc meeting.
Oh,
They
yeah,
had
yeah,
a combination
Yeah,
of,
right.
I was actually with the minutes from the ad hoc
Senior
committee.
center.
I mean, from the senior center committee,
Yeah.
but I don't think I saw an actual minutes of the meeting for
Oh, okay.
our department. I wasn't there. I wasn't able to
Okay.
attend that.
That's right.
Okay, well, we can always,
Cindy made some notes in her email, I think, about
okay.
when she sent out the minutes for this past season for us.
Oh, okay.
But
So
she
was
didn't-
it-
she didn't include minutes in.
Okay, it wasn't in the form of minutes. We can defer them probably then until next time.
Okay.
Right? Wasn't that the last time we met?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right, last time I met was the joint with
Yeah.
the senior city the senior.
Yeah. I think
center.
I had sent her the minutes that were written up by the senior center, hoping that they would help her to write up our minutes, but maybe that hasn't happened yet.
Yeah. I haven't seen anything.
Okay.
All right. Any updates from the senior center?
Yeah, let me
Committee.
just,
We have a meeting coming up.
I want to just make, keep notes here. So minutes were January 30th. Is that the right date?
Right.
Okay, so senior center, we had a meeting last Thursday, and it was very detailed. There is a working PowerPoint that's going to be shown at Norris School this Wednesday night at 7 o'clock. There's a presentation by both chairs of the Senior Center Committee and Abacus Architects and Planners. And it's basically a whole, summation of what's happened so far, from who's on the committee to the narrowing down of sites, which sites were eliminated, which ones are still in the running, and what the design looks like for the senior center and why it was selected that much, and the square footage, which I think is 12,300 or around there. And what people had said they wanted, and therefore what the design looks like. The goal is to have a final report, obviously by the 2-year death of Red Parson, which was May 17th, I believe. But the plan is to have a formal presentation within a couple of weeks after this Wednesday's meeting. The goal is to narrow it down to the top 1 or 2 sites with a plan in mind for the actual design of the center. And they're going to we haven't had cost estimates yet, so that will all happen between Wednesday's meeting and within a month out at the very most. So that's pretty much the plan. Then they have to confirm that what they've done or what we've done meets the letter of the law of the will, which is, a final plan for a freestanding senior center. And if that's the case, then we'll get the confirmation on the funding from the will, and then the next steps will be, either moving forward to discuss purchasing land or whatever. But that's the way it stands. So in the 4 properties, the same 4 that we mentioned before. Here, Labride's land, Gallagher's land, and Marmon Keystone. So there's a little design on each of those sites, and there's a lot of details around the presentation in terms of, what should be said and how it should be handled, but it all looks pretty good.
Okay. We had a discussion here last time about someone from this committee being at that March 1st meeting to answer questions. Did that come up at the senior center?
Oh yeah, there's a hope that everybody could possibly make it, and that if you're available, that being the chair, that we just want to make sure that if people ask questions about the senior center, I mean, it's not, the main emphasis of the senior center, but certainly the message we want is we're on the same page. We just had a joint meeting. We had a couple setbacks, but we're still moving forward, and to just answer questions if things come up. And it was suggested that maybe we think about what questions might be asked, and so we have a little bit of a discussion beforehand on what do you think people are going to be asking about, and how would they be answered, so nobody's kind of put on the spot. So yeah, that was discussed.
I think it would be great if the 2 chiefs could be there at the March 1st meeting.
Let's check in with Ian. I'm not sure about where John is, but.
Okay. Well, as a follow-up to that, I don't know when we want to generate a list of questions and potential answers, because March 1st is coming up in, 2 days?
Yeah. Right. Well, I don't think it, I think it was just that, what might come up and how might it be answered, more to support whoever's going to be the spokesperson on it, to make sure that, they're representing the committee and all of that.
Right.
I think the main message is we want to make sure that we're
Working together. Yeah. So, and I don't think there's any specifics, if we're from this committee is there, we need to, present any specifics, because we don't have any specifics yet.
Yeah.
Why didn't you choose the bowling alley? Give me an explanation of that. So.
Yeah. Well, Abacus did look at the Harley-Davidson building. That was a request They looked at the property on East Street, which doesn't have frontage to East Street anymore, but it's right next to the park. So they looked at that, and they also removed the current police station. There's just not enough land, there's not enough space for that. So, that's on those slides saying, we did due diligence and, all of that, but I don't know, I just thought it might be a good idea to ask, does anybody have a question, or do you think there are questions that people might be asking? When the survey was done, there were people that responded to the survey saying, kind of like, as if they're in competition, like, we need a public safety complex first. And, the senior center will repeatedly say that the reason why they're doing it is because they just got this donation and they had a 2-year clock, and they probably might not have done this if it hadn't been that they got this tremendous opportunity.
And I guess we've probably talked about before, but what is our response from this committee is, why are we doing this now? Why are we, piggybacking this on top of the senior center? We've got this huge cost coming up for the town, and now at the same time you institute this public safety committee meeting. Why are we doubling up on the financial burden to the town? I mean, that's a legitimate question, and something that we ought to have a legitimate answer for. I know it's just evolved. Yes, Charlie?
We might also want to know what debt we've retired in the last 5 years.
Yeah, I don't want to get too much into finances, but that's part of it, yeah.
I'm just saying it goes hand in hand,
Yeah.
That could be a reason why they're doing both of them, is because all these debts have been retired. And that could be part of if the question.
If the question comes up,
part of the answer.
right.
The reason why we're doing it is because we retired debt X, Y, Z. And
I'll plead first ignorance. I'm not sure exactly what debts X, Y, and Z we did retire, so, to have a response.
I don't know off the top of my head, but one example would be sewer debts, the, what do you call it, the regional school had some debts.
Yeah, that's already gone.
Well, what I'm saying is it's
Yeah.
gone, which means
Yeah,
there was a school, there was a fire truck, wasn't there?
yeah.
there's been quite a few things over the last few years.
Yep. Yeah, Ed would be the one to actually
Right,
come
that's
prepared with that
right.
information, I think.
And he will be there?
Yeah, I think what we did was in the last budget, I think we took some money from, it was either capital, I think it was capital. I think we ended up taking some money and paying off, we only had a year or two left on one of the debts, and we ended up using the funds we had to pay it off. Yeah, but Ed would have to tell us that. I don't think there's anything big coming off in the next couple of years. But to your point, just to remember that Public Safety Committee actually came first before the senior
Right.
center, so it's not like we're piggybacking onto them. I mean, this committee has been more long-standing than the senior
Right.
center. The senior center jumped in because of their opportunity. So, and as far as the funding, I think one of the slides that talks about funding is, and this was discussed, the first thing is to use the money from the will. The second thing is to see about any additional state and federal monies that we can get. And then a major capital campaign. And then, we would then, look to the town for any sort of debt or whatever. But I think it's important that we not say, even if the plan or hope is that it's, we're going to reduce the burden on the taxpayers, I think, we have to be cautious about what we say, because it'll come back to bite us if, we don't. If we expect that we're going to fund the entire thing without
We can't be too specific because we don't have the specifics.
Right, and we haven't even got the cost estimates yet.
Yeah.
That's going to play a big role in terms of what things are going to cost based on the site, among other things.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think that when Janet was here, she said that at one of the forums, the concern was the cost of one of the forums for the senior center.
Yeah.
One of the concerns was the cost, and that I think she named grants and capital fund drive and so forth, hoping to reassure them that reassure residents that taxes wouldn't go up too much. or go up at all, I think. Isn't that what the message she,
I think we just have to be cautious about what we say, because there's so
I
much
do.
misunderstanding about it anyway. Our taxes have gone down for the last couple of years, but obviously, the assessments in town have skyrocketed. So people are paying more for sure, but it's not because of the taxes which have gone down again for this FY '24. It has to do with the assessments of the property, which is happening throughout the country, but certainly in our area.
right?
So I just feel like we just have to be very cautious about what we say about the financial end of it. We have not even gotten cost estimates.
No, I was just referring
Yeah.
to Janet's,
Yeah, I don't
The-
think
the
she's going to
fact-
say that, though.
no, I
Yeah.
would think not, because you
We
can't
talked a lot
promise
about that.
the residents.
Right.
the-
But that was, when we did that info session, there was a lot of comments about the funding.
That's what I remember her
Yeah.
saying, yeah.
So I don't know if people have any other ideas about what concerns people might have that, relative to the public safety question. If it comes up, I mean, at this point, I don't even know if, we haven't even done the feasibility study yet, so I'm not even sure that there's any dollar amount or square footage or anything that we can actually say.
No, we
I think we're
haven't
just
done
going to
it.
consistently say it's early on, we waiting to see what comes in.
We still don't have a engineering firm lined up or anything.
Right,
Right.
Right?
right. It's due back on March 16th. So we'll just have to wait to see. I haven't heard in terms of if there's been any requests. Do you?
Right.
Have you
I
heard
have
anything?
not heard. So I guess we jumped into item 5 on the agenda as update on RFQ and next steps. We're waiting for the proposals to come back on March 16th, and we'll take it from there. We still on the agenda, consider a field trip to neighboring public safety facilities. I don't know if we want to hit that now or wait till a little bit later. I think if it's important to do it now or wait till later on.
I think it'll be, I learned a lot from going to Granby, and I'd already gone there before.
Mhm.
I've been to Hadley before, but I think it'll be a good experience, because if I'm going to be evaluating and scoring firms, for me, it's helpful to have just a little bit more information
Yeah.
in terms of what they have and what we would ideally want to have. So, I think it'd be good, John.
But the
you had
fifth
said that-
time we've discussed this with you.
Yeah, no problem. So, you want me to set something up?
Yeah, if March 16th is when they're due, what did we come up with a calendar for? Did we say that, I have actually a copy of the RFQ, let me look at it. Because we'll have to score it and then potentially interview and,
We have to respond, there's a deadline for
Yeah.
questions and a deadline for responses to those questions.
right, well, I think that we might be past the questions one. Let me just find the RFQ, the final one.
So the proposals come back on the 16th. The next date that we would have would be the 20th.
Yeah, I'm looking at the
That's-
calendar, the actual final RFQ that went out with all the dates. Yeah, so it says here.
I had that written down for the joint meeting.
Yeah, so the RFQ was available on February 8th, and deadline for written questions was March 2nd.
Oh,
And so they're supposed to have them in by the 16th of March. And then if interviews are needed, they would happen between March 23rd and April 6th. And then we would submit the design or recommendation to the awarding authority, so the select board would approve it hopefully by April 11th. Or execute contract by April 27th.
So I guess the question is, would it be beneficial for us to meet, two things. One, for us to meet here again on the 20th, that's a couple of days after we receive the RFQs.
Yeah, yeah.
Just to get the ball rolling to figure out what our next viable
Yeah.
selection is. So
Yeah.
we're sort of jumping us here, but I think our next meeting should be on the 20th.
Yeah,
Give us a first opportunity to see what packages we have.
yeah. Is that the Monday, the 20th?
Monday the 20th. And
That
then
makes sense.
that's sort of going backwards now, back to setting up a meeting in Hadley to review the Hadley Public Safety Committee building.
On the 20th?
The 20th is when we have the meeting here.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm trying to figure out when would be a good time to try to get everybody together to go to Hadley. I'm pretty flexible. Anybody else here have
I'm
any?
flexible.
So we thinking like maybe a week or two after we meet next time? Or before?
I'm sort of thinking it might be before, because that way we'll have some more information ahead about what to look at and analyze as far as what these architectural firms can do.
Okay. Okay.
So sometime within the next 3 weeks. Anyone have any preference or exclusions?
Yeah, I can't make Wednesdays, that's the only restriction.
Pardon?
I can't make Wednesdays, that's the only
Okay.
restriction.
And I'll be away from the 8th through 13th.
So
So
maybe the week of like,
Week of the
maybe like the 16th?
16th on a Thursday?
You want during the day or evening, or what are you looking at?
Maybe in the after, I have a final report from the senior center committee, is supposed to happen at noon time. So either before that or after that.
Probably afternoon.
Yeah.
Meet here at 2 o'clock and then Carpool?
The 16th.
Yeah, that would be good.
What day are we talking?
the 16th?
Thursday?
I have a commitment at 3 on Thursdays, I forgot that, but I would say find something that's convenient for all of you folks.
So you're not available Wednesday or available on Thursday?
I'm good either Wednesday or Thursday.
What's that?
I'm good either Wednesday or Thursday.
I could come for a while, until about, I could come for 45 minutes.
Mhm.
Oh, meeting here at 2? No.
Or we can meet at a different time, we're just throwing it out.
Yeah. I can also listen in my car as I go over there, so, you know, if you wanted to make it a little bit earlier to make it available, like try to make it for 1.
Yeah?
Yeah. I mean, I can also, so long as I go to the beginning of it, I'm fine. If that will make it so that you can make it.
So meeting here at 1, meeting there at 1,
Yeah, either way.
Either way,
whatever's convenient.
Yeah.
Tell me, just, then I'll make it happen.
Okay. Christine, what would be better for you?
Well, I just have to be in Northampton at 3, so I would be driving myself,
Okay.
and I'm good with, well, I mean, I guess ideally, Mark, how about you? You're working still. Are you going to be able to make it?
If my schedule's, a lot of times my schedule's open, if it's open, I'll meet you there.
okay. We're gonna try to meet there at 1, that gives you a lot more latitude.
If it's convenient for everybody, I don't want to.
So we'll be in Hadley at 1, and if
Having 1
On the
meeting
16th.
here.
And if we meet here at,
12:30.
12:30, we can meet here for anybody who wants to carpool.
Okay. I'll probably go directly there just so I can catch the meeting as much as I can before.
Yes.
Now, Chief, there is more than one fire station in Hadley?
That's correct.
So do you offhand know the address?
I think it's Maple Street, isn't it?
Is it North
Yeah, for
Maple?
the main one?
You're right.
It's on North Maple, I think.
Yeah, that sounds right. But let me,
I don't see a reason to go to the other one, because the
No.
other one's just a substation.
Yeah, that's...
15 East Street.
Oh, it's East Street.
East Street.
15 East?
Yep.
It must be the postmark.
Say 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
All right, we'll send out a memo to all the members discussing the meeting for the 16th. I'll send something out. All right. And the other item we had on was discuss whether this committee should recommend to the select board about having associate members. Is that something we want to request the select board to suggest or allow or facilitate us having some more associate members? Are we comfortable with the members that we have? Yes, Charlie?
Well, given what we have for a group right now, I think we need to have some associate members just to have more bodies available.
So I'm, again, being bureaucratically ignorant. The process that we would use to,
Would be making a motion to ask the selectmen if they would entertain the idea of rechartering this position, this group, to include some associate members.
Charlie has made a motion. Do we hear a second? Second. Motion's made and second. Any discussion?
Yeah, I'd like to make a discussion, and I will ask the select board if that's what we decide. But I have mixed feelings about it, and I'll tell you why. I feel like if the fact that we were way off on the price, then we should have known about it. Like, we're behind the 8 ball on 2 occasions, because if in fact it was because we were so far low on the estimate on $75,000, then I feel like we should have known about it. And how would we know about it? I mean, right now the Senior Center Building Committee has 2 engineers, an architect, and I just think that the reason why this came up is because there were 3 people vying to be on this committee, and 2 of them had been on the committee in the past, and the select board invited Mark to be part of this committee, who has a background in construction. And I feel like if we continue to want to have retired firefighters and people that are in the building trades, I think we're gonna this is a building committee. And so I have very mixed feelings about it. I think there's nothing stopping people from coming to the meeting, and they're not. And right now, associate members are generally non-voting members, unless it's set up in such a way that they vote in the absence of a quorum. And I think that this committee can do better in terms of making it aware to the chair if people aren't going to come. I mean, I'd be kind of unhappy if I came here and there wasn't a quorum because we never heard from anybody. So I have a lot of mixed feelings about it, as you can tell, and I feel like if we're going to have associate members, there has to be a good reason why we're going to have associate members. And if it's because we need more information at the table, then we should make sure that we decide what kind of information we want at the table. But if we continue to do things the way they've been done in the past, and then I just don't think that we're making the right decisions. That's my opinion. So what is the purpose of having associate members, and what kind of associate members do we want? Because there's nothing stopping anybody from coming to this open public meeting, and nobody's come.
Charlie, you had a question?
No, it's sort of like point counterpoint. I agree with a lot of what you're saying. I don't believe they should be voting members. I believe what they bring to the committee is the fact of more activity in the community, bringing in more people so that they can pretty much be our voice out there to help us so that we have a better rounded group. I also agree with you that we should have had more information. We should never have been going out for these bids and finding out that we did not put in enough money and all the rest of that. That's wrong. I don't understand what happened there, but it happened and so be it. My hope is to bring in more community involvement so that we have more people that'll take and carry our flag to move this forward. I don't believe that we need to have all kinds of expertise on this committee, having, the classic, the attorney, the plumber, and the Indian chief works just as well in a small community like this. That's why I think it's a good idea to bring some associate members in, but again, I don't believe they should be voting unless the selectmen want to make them alternates if another person cannot attend a meeting or something in that regard, but that would be a selectman's call.
Select board call?
So I'll never get that.
No, you will get it.
No,
Yes, you will.
For the rest of my life.
No, yes, you will. I think it's a great suggestion, what you just said, because I think that getting more people involved or having people here that can go out into their networks. The problem is if the networks are the same networks of other people in the committee, then that's not a very good point. I think the people that did not get onto this committee have tremendous history, which I think is really, really helpful, because I think history, helps us sometimes not to repeat the same mistakes. But I do think that having people in the building trades is really, really helpful. It's what I've witnessed in the senior center meeting, 2 engineers and an architect. I mean, that has been a huge addition to the senior center building committee that, in the beginning we had Sarah and we had you and, now we have Mark, and I just think that people that, it's a building. I just feel like we do need expertise in certain areas in this committee, I think.
So if we were to request this of the select board, how would these members be, would people have to come forward and request to be associate members?
I imagine we would put out, if the select board approved it, first of all, then there would be a call for associate members. And anyone who's applied to be on the committee before is certainly welcome. And then there'd be decisions around associate membership in terms of voting rights and all that sort of thing. There are some statutes already. For example, the Conservation Commission has associate members that are actually written into a statute that are part of Mass General laws. But I think an ad hoc committee like this, I don't know if it's within our ability to just say, we want to have X number of associate members and they can only vote if there's not a quorum, or, I think that...
I think that would be the select board that would be setting that.
Yeah.
Why are you hitting me? I said select board.
That's what it probably.
I can't win either way I go here. I get smacked from the left, I get smacked from the right.
Probably deserve it.
Yeah, so I want to just make sure that we're not repeating mistakes from the past. I've been trying to get this building going for a long time, and
I have a question. What would be the detriment of having associate members?
Yeah, good question.
And I'm asking just out of curiosity. Is there a downside to having associates versus, I see the positives, some of the negatives, but I'm not really sure what the downside is. Yes, Charlie?
The negative would depend on the chair of this committee being able to keep the committee on target with discussion by having a larger group.
Put the burden on me.
Yep. That's what I did.
So do associate members participate actively like any of us would during a meeting? Is that, I'm not quite sure. So they would, well, even members of the community who chose to sit in, it's no different, right? They could speak up whenever they wanted.
As I see this, what we're trying to do is get more people to buy into this. And by giving them a title, they feel they have a little responsibility to be involved.
One demographic that I don't see here are people in their maybe early 30s, 30s in this committee. I think that brings another perspective.
There's a whole section we never see.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. I've been really impressed since I've been on the select board. At one point, the Conservation Commission had almost, with the exception of 2 members, all of the committee members were in their 20s and 30s. A farmer, a wildlife biologist, a logger, it was really pretty remarkable. And then we've had young people on the senior center. She's now the social worker for East Hampton. So, and we have in the select board, we have 2 people that are young and have kids. It's harder. certainly, then we'll let it retire. It would be good, I mean, unlike the senior center, I mean, everybody accesses at some point emergency services. Well, most people do. So,
I guess then the question would be, is the select board, would the select board then be selective? Because I agree with you, Chief, that someone under our age, you know.
It's just that there's a lot of younger people moving into this community.
Yeah.
And I think it's important for them to see the state of the buildings.
yeah, that's a good point. They probably have never been in there.
And perhaps that younger group should have been included in the original makeup of the
And would it be great if some of them were
voting.
engineers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. A level of professionalism
Right,
would
kind of
be
meet both
fabulous.
standards that we're looking for.
Mhm.
Yes, Charlie.
Ultimately, this is going to be the select board's decision.
Right.
So I'll do it this way, just to get it off point. I make a motion that we request associate members. The motion's been
Mhm.
put in. I move the question.
Okay. And who seconded that, Charlie, back?
I'd second it.
Chief.
So is that what's going to go forward? Just like we're
Well, no, what this means now is this committee's got to vote to decide if
Yeah.
we're going to go yea or nay.
Mhm.
So all those in favor of soliciting the select board for associate members, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? It seemed unanimous.
Mhm.
Good job.
Yeah. So, I mean, most of the time it wouldn't be in a voting member, but it might be helpful if they're able to vote in the absence of a member, but I'll just say yes, the committee, and I think it's on the agenda for tomorrow night anyway, because it's been one of those sort of, let's not forget about it, let's wait to see what the committee says, so I'll just bring it up and just see what kind of questions come up.
Okay, great, thank you.
I think it might be worth putting in something in Tiger Talk, the elementary school, and just say that, obviously we're looking for members from a lot of committees, but specifically see if they'd be willing to put something in the communication to families about wanting to have more members of representation in this committee. So I wrote an email because it's been talked about a lot, back and forth. Cindy had reached out to Barbara Simborski, and I had as well. And obviously she has not been able to come. And I also just sent an email to her again
You sent an
today, and
email today,
CC'd
no
you and
response.
Ed. So I think I will also ask it to go back to the Finance Committee and ask John to bring it back to the Finance Committee. Because I think that our hope is that we would have financial representation.
And if not, perhaps a young person with finance as a background.
Yeah, right now, they're also a short committee, especially going into budget season, so that's a worry. But it's pretty much very experienced financial people. Donna Whiteley, Vicki Morrow, John Lumbra, and there's Barbara Simborski, and I do think there's another member. So we'll see what they say. I'll ask John to bring it back there. John Lumber, who's our representative to the Finance Committee.
I've got two more questions or two more items. One, received this one-stop program for funding for ad hoc committees. I don't know if everybody else got the email. There's a process out where you can fill out this one application to get additional funds. I don't know if that's something that goes through the select board process or not. It was an email from Fowles. I don't know if you saw that email.
Oh, the one-stop grant
Right,
thing,
one-stop
yes,
shop
yes.
grant. I don't think that's, we're ad hoc committee, we're looking for
Right.
millions of dollars, but I don't
Right,
think
right.
we're in a position to fill this out. I just don't want to miss an opportunity if it's there.
I don't know if everybody got that, but,
Yes, Charlie?
Only from past history, you might, not us, it would have to be the select board.
Correct.
Could fill that out to ask for allocations to take and hire for architectural design or for even assessment. Might get some-
Yeah, as I say, it was a funding opportunity. I didn't want to let it go sliding by. if it was something that this committee should be involved in trying to,
Does it have a ceiling?
I don't know.
I mean, fishing is fishing. I mean, they can submit something in there and say you want
A little bit.
$200,000 for architectural design once you move forward. It's going to take them several months before that gets processed anyways. Who knows?
Yeah, I think there's many things we could fill out. I just didn't know if we were the authority or the person to do that, and if it was there, should we highlight this opportunity to the select board to
Select board
pursue?
accountable.
Yeah, I think that would be a good idea. I think that
Chris Fowles is.
Chris Fowles is the
doing a
one
great job
that,
with that.
yeah.
Right,
I
track
mean,
it down.
the grants committee's brought in over $500,000. And I think that this particular thing is this one stop, one grant stop, or whatever. So I think the grants committee is looking, sent out things to department heads and the committee chairs to say, is anything jumping to the forefront kind of a thing? Any priorities on this? So I think it'd be a great idea because, we also got, remember the additional $50,000 from the legislature. And, when we got more money from the Greenway from a grant, we were able to cancel out some money that we originally had earmarked from CPA. So, I mean, it doesn't hurt to just say, yes, we're going to be looking for additional funds for the feasibility study. So, and I'll keep, ARPA on the map as it dwindles down a bit. But definitely, it seems, if they're willing to just put in for the feasibility on, for this thing, I think it'd be great.
Okay.
Those grants have been around for some time,
Yeah.
and Southampton has snagged some money on some of those.
Mhm.
I think they did a feasibility study on the fire and police department years ago with that grant money.
Okay. Well, thank you for taking that forward. I have one other item I'd like to bring up. I'm going to file a disclosure of appearance of conflict of interest with the select board. We were all encouraged to take that conflict of interest course, and I did, and I learned something. It said if I had ties to a previous company that we may be hiring, that I should file this disclosure. So I'm going to file that with I believe this board of selectmen is probably for people to do it. Just that I was involved with a previous company which may be partners with some of the architectural firms. I just want to get rid of the appearance of conflict of interest. I no longer have any relationship to that firm, but it could appear to be conflict of interest, so I want to make sure I make the filing first. And then in the select board will make a determination whether or not I could participate in the selection of the architects.
How long have you been away from that company?
A couple years.
All right, so that,
It's close enough, yeah, to the appearance. I'm very confident there is none, but the appearance is there. So I just want to
I
make
feel
you,
your pain.
make you aware that I will be filing that, and depending on what the select board say, I may or may not be able to participate in the selection. Once they're selected, I will be jumping in both feet.
Yeah, we get those on a regular basis, a lot of times from department head because of family relationships, so I'm glad you mentioned it to us before. We just saw that copy. Do you know where to get the form? Okay.
And how do I submit that, since you're,
Well, usually it goes to Ed, and Paula ends up scanning it and sending it to us as part of a packet that we review, which
okay,
is...
so I would send this to Ed.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right.
Yep.
Relative to that grant, did that go out to the entire committee? The only reason I say that is I could forward that to, or someone could forward it to Chris. They meet, the grant committee meets on the 2nd of March.
Oh, yeah, that would be great then. I was gonna actually clarify that, like, do you want me to say something to select board? But if you already have that handy?
I don't have it, but if someone
either,
could
yeah.
send it to me, I can send it to Chris and let
Okay.
him know. Chris Fowles is the
She's the chair of the grants committee, so
Grants
she
committee.
ends up needing to know about that.
Yeah, I'd actually like a copy also, if I could.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
A copy of this one?
Just
the one
the
stop?
email, the one
yeah, the
stop.
one stop.
Oh, the one stop?
grant, yeah. Did you
Yeah.
send that out to the entire committee or no?
I will forward
You
that.
send that to me and she does it great. And then
Yeah.
I'll send it out to Chris.
Yeah, because I think they're looking for feedback on where the priorities, where they should try to get them money from.
I'll send it to everyone. All right. Is there any other business that anyone has? Well, we went over last time, this time we'll be ahead of schedule. And we've already scheduled the next meeting, assuming there's no other items.
I just want to mention, because I just checked my email, and there's an email from Barbara, and she said, sorry she hasn't been able to make a meeting. She has had some personal stuff. Thanks. So sorry if there's been any inconvenience, but she's resigning from the committee.
Okay.
So we'll see who finance wants to put forward.
Oh, I didn't realize that this email was actually sent from Chris.
Right, yes.
Okay, so Chris is well aware of this then.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, there's
Say that
no
again,
other-
I'm confused. The memos from,
Chris is the chair of the grants committee,
yeah.
and there is a grant, it sounded like it was new, but Charlie said it's really not that new, where you can apply, instead of having a grant, apply for a grant here, they're calling it a one-stop
All right, I got that.
So she sent an email out to all the department heads. My understanding was department heads and chairs of committees to say, do you want us to apply for anything that you're working on? So that's what Mark asked, if we want to put forward any suggestions. And Charlie had said, hey, why not request money for the feasibility study
Or even the architectural design.
or the architectural design.
I mean, it
Yeah.
doesn't mean you're gonna get anything, but that's a fusion center that takes and reallocates it to the different grant programs.
Yeah.
Like I said, you don't go fishing, you don't catch fish.
That's it. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Can we set a meeting?
So moved. Yes.
And first,
March 20th. But before that is the Hadley trip.
Right.
yes.
Okay.
So I think I said yes. So
Yes.
moved. Did I make that?
So moved. There's all in favor?
I'll second
Are
it.
you second?
Second.
Okay, let me get that for the minutes. Hang on.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? No. Passed unanimously.
All right.
This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.